All right. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to quickly look through, talked about HyperDocs in a very quick fashion. What I would really encourage you to do is, and I'll put this in some reference material, is really do some research on it. If you like this idea, there's definitely a pattern to it and so on and so forth. So this is an example of a Spanish HyperDoc. So they all have the same things basically. Like this is explore to engage, this is read, this is listen, this is watch. And if you notice, you get down to then some of the action verbs of do, write, and it. So you go through, try to engage the student, try to get them to take in information, see what they've learned from the information. If you need to, correct, and then after that, have them do something with the information or create. So it's beginning of the 4Cs with critical thinking involved. But this is one, this is on a Google Doc. It's all one thing, and they can work their way through. If you can read Spanish, you can look at it and go, oh, here's some ideas for this Spanish of, I don't remember what repaso is, but playing of something. Okay, so then we go into another HyperDoc, which is, I gotta see which one this is. My computer's being slow today, so I apologize. This is profiling questions. Essential questions is profiling ever justified. So this is more of a social studies. And so what you can see here is the same idea, but now we're in English, is if we go to the first one, it's engage. So watch the video. What is your initial response? And then it's going to ask you questions to get your like pre-testing almost. Then, and also, oh, by the way, also look down at the bottom here. It's giving other instructions at the bottom. So it's using Google Slides as an instructional tool where it says click on the image and read the article below. The first one had just watch the whole class and then respond. So it gives exactly what to do step by step. Can this move? There we go. Complete this activity linked here. So they have things where the students will use this to move through the process of what is profiling. And you can see it constantly ask questions, and explore means they're looking at things, and explain arguments take many forms. We are exploring several different types of throughout the rest of the unit. In the end, you will pick that format. And so you can see it just slowly goes through and starts to try to build their knowledge. Here's a math one for writing exponential equations. When you write exponential equations, right, it's trying to put a different twist on doing the same thing you have done before. And when it says writing exponential equations, again, there's a creativity part here, but it goes through the entire process and tries to engage by pulling in some videos. And you can see it's giving you what you're going to learn and moves through the explanation, okay? And has you answering questions along the way. So you're learning as you digest the information. Now, one thing you don't see in many of these is you can always put a stop sign in there and say, stop here until you get teacher approval. So they can't, it doesn't have to be just a free flow for them. It's like you can say, okay, you've done this many slides, like, because if you look at this sucker, this is 38 slides. So it's a long process. This is not a one-day thing. And you can put a stop sign anywhere in there and say, wait, let the teacher review, and then they will get in contact with you and let you know you need to move on. But that's the idea. You can see that they're having them do different things, and then as the teacher wants to, they could go through each one of these and comment on them and comment on the students' work as they go. Then we go into another one. This is on narrative writing. Same idea, but just English content. So you can do it pretty much for every content. You just have to think differently about it. And again, here down at the bottom, this is narrative writing. It says narrative topics, and it says, with my tools here, let me get rid of my tools. It says, what's your story, playlist, commercial shorts. So it's trying to engage the student. Then it gives you directions, and it has more directions down here. So it's making it look good and moving around. Okay. Then it has you do all sorts of different things to get into narrative writing and start to write your first narrative write. It has it has right here, then it has use this HyperDoc to go over peer review. So this person obviously uses a lot, and you can work your way through. And then here's just to tell you, here's one that this is one of my first ones. They change over time. You start to learn as you build these things. This one was on atomic theory. I used the wrong font size, I can tell you that right away once we go into it. But again, you go in, you let the students know what they're supposed to learn or what questions they're supposed to be able to answer by the time they're done, so they can come back to this. And typically what happens is this slide shows up at the end. Then you have resources that they can use, so they're exploring and they're using those resources. It's kind of fill in the blank, but it's also forcing them to critically watch and be an active watch and listener of this video, as well as some other materials down there. Then they go into there's little links here. Let's see, that one is a Khan Academy going over different things and answering questions as you go. And you link to different things. This is a simulation of it, and you move on through the process. Now, notice there's no stop sign in this one. Some of them I have stop signs where I want to make sure they know. If I say stop here, I would come around and talk to the group. In an online learning situation, how that would work is you would just have to read everybody's stuff really fast, give them a good or no good, and you could catch those misconceptions. So that's the idea of the HyperDoc. It's kind of the lesson all wrapped into a bundle, so they don't have to go to they constantly come back to this web page and land, okay, or this Google slide or Google Doc land, but then they can link out and come back and put their information all in here. Somewhat like a web quest, but there's more to it, just filling in blanks and looking for stuff. All right, I'll see you later.